Specialized has taken one of my favourite all-time road shoes, the S-Works 7 here, and made it even better with the launch today of the brand new and very white S-Works Torch shoes. And here they are. So in this video, give you all the details on these new shoes, what's changed from the previous model, what they're like to ride after several weeks of using them, and also we'll dive into technology that underpins this shoe and goes back nearly 20 years. Body geometry, or BG for short. And these brand new shoes are the perfect embodiment and culmination of that 20-year mission of building on every shoe before it, learning lessons where they can, finding small improvements to make what is possibly the best road shoe I've ever used. And I'm not being paid to say that, it's my own personal opinion based on 15 years of testing shoes and many other products in the bike industry. They really are a fantastic shoe. The comfort is up there, as is all the other performance metrics you look for in a high-end road shoe. So let's dive in, take a closer look, share my thoughts on wearing them, and then we'll take a trip down memory lane and remember the importance of body geometry. So let's dive in. Firstly, you might be wondering about the name. S-Works Torch and not S-Works 8, because we had the 7 and the 6 and the 5 and so on before it. The company was keen to get away from a numbering convention, so 8, 9, 10, and also provide this product as a bridging product of sorts between the top end S-Works range and that second tier Torch range where there are 3 price points. And because after the launch of the SW7 here, the top end shoes started diversifying as they focused on different aspects of performance. So the Aries for sprinting, where you want maximum support and hold, and then the Vent for maximum ventilation. And we had the Exos, that super lightweight to wafer thin lightweight shoe for a brief while as well. And as the range has diversified, this shoe has become more than ever your classic go-to, do everything, no-brainer choice. Just a shoe that works well in every situation and looks amazing too, especially with its new upper and very understated logos. There are other colours available, I'll put links down below, but white is faster, so why we choose anything else? Although keeping it clean can be a bit of a bugger, but I'll talk about that later. So what has changed then? Well, at first glance, nothing, but then everything. So I kept the best bits of the SW7, including my favourite bits of any road shoe, the burr dials. They feel and sound amazing. Tactile, ergonomic, I could do it all day long. So satisfying. So they remain, but the way they interact with the upper has changed, which we'll talk about in a moment. Oh, yeah, so nice, I do it all day long. As you can see, the Velcro strap has gone, which is no bad thing because you set once and forget, so that saves weight and looks much cleaner as well. So now we have a lot more volume in the forefoot and a wider carbon fibre base than the old shoe. The base is now 4mm wider than the old shoe, and there's even a wide version which is now at 3mm wider. So 2 versions where we had 1 before. And it's that extra volume in the foot that's a real big difference on this. So more space for your toes, more comfort, less pressure, but maintain that excellent hold and secure fit you want from a high performance shoe when put down the watts, sprinting and climbing and so on. And that change, the wider carbon base and that new forefoot area, comes from all their Retool fit data. They now own Retool, so loads of fit data. And also working really closely with the pros they sponsor to get loads of good feedback on how they could improve these shoes. Now these shoes weren't bad, but the increased volume and that improved comfort around the top of the foot is a marked difference to how good these shoes feel out on the road. So the burr dials have been angled very differently. You can see the anchor point is very much lower on the new shoe compared to the old shoe. And they've used different materials in the shoe in the upper, and you can see how the burr dial works on this section here. And rather where the old shoe pulled the upper down onto your foot and put pressure across the top of your foot, the new shoe pulls the sides in together like that. And that means the top of the foot has no pressure on it at all, no pinch points, no hot spots, but you get that support from the sides, really holding your foot in place really nicely. And it means, in my experience so far, you don't have to do the burr dials up very tight at all. You leave them almost like slack and open and your foot stays really firmly in place. Around the back of the shoe we have an asymmetric heel cup. It wasn't on the old shoe, and that is borrowed from that super lightweight Exos. And they found by having an asymmetric heel cup, You still get the support you need from a heel cup like that, but with less pressure, so a more accommodating fit for more people. And it's quite a bit wider, as you can see illustrated there. So the extra width decreases the pressure around the back of the foot, but also gives you that secure feel you need. So when you're riding, when you're really putting the watts out, there's no heel lift to speak of at all. And then underneath we have a carbon fibre sole, which has the same stiffness rating as the old SW7. But as you can see, it's a lot smoother, much more elegant and classy looking. And there's a new internal I-beam structure to give that stiffness while reducing 20 grams of weight. So a small weight saving, but in a top end shoe like this, 20 grams is quite hard to find. Got replaceable heel cup there, small vent on the top there, and your regular 3 cleat drilling there. I've got speed plates in there at the moment. And the way the carbon fibre sole is fixed to the upper is much more seamless than before, much more elegant looking as well. And that saves weight and reduces flex in that area as well. So much nicer looking product than the old shoe as well. We had quite a large step there, but it's now almost smooth and almost like one shoe being formed from different materials in one kind of process. So really smooth, elegant, seamless looking product. And then the upper, as you can see, is very minimally branded compared to the old shoes, which had a loud S-Works logo. So very understated, and that is deliberate to give that classy, traditional white shoe appearance, but also because Specialized recognises, and we see this out on the road all the time, that lots and lots of people like Specialized shoes, regardless of other brand loyalties they might have. The Specialized shoe, thanks to that body geometry and that fit, means they are really popular shoes with lots and lots of people. So if you have a sponsor commitment elsewhere, you can still run this with very small logos front and back. So they look good, they sound good, but what are they like to use? Well, I've been riding them for the last few weeks, and I have to say I am very, very impressed. I always liked the old SW7 and even the SW6 before it. You can see how much use these have had. I've had a lot of use out of these, really like these shoes. And while they're both very good, they had a few niggles. And what these shoes do, new ones do, is remove all the niggles and get to the best shoe I've ever used in all my years of a bike journalist. So one bugbear with the old SW7 is the tongue would always sort of rotate around and just change a fit during a ride. But these, the way they reposition the bird dials, open up that tongue area a bit and remodeled the upper, that tongue now stays in place. And the overriding sensation of using these shoes is that you're not wearing a shoe. There's no feeling of a shoe on top of your foot, and to use a well-worn cliche, it is like wearing your favourite slippers. Like my favourite slippers here. They are as comfortable as those when I'm out on the bike. So no feeling of a shoe on top of your foot at all. Absolutely fantastic. Just fades away from the first moment you clip in to when you get home after a ride. They just feel magical on your feet. They really do feel incredible to wear. That extra volume in the front of the foot gives more space for your toes to wiggle around, but not at the expense of that secure fit you want from a shoe. I can now run these with the bird dial almost open, unlocked, but my foot is nicely retained in place. And even when I'm climbing and stomping out of the pedals, my foot isn't moving around in the shoe. There's excellent heel grip at the back of the shoe. But extra volume means just more comfort, more freedom for longer rides. I went out the other day and did a 3-hour bike ride, and I went out deliberately hard. I'm pushing as hard as I could on the pedals, trying to churn out the watts as much as I could maintain. The sort of ride where if you're going to have any discomfort from a shoe, pressure hot spots or discomfort anywhere, that would be highlighted. But at the end of that ride, my feet felt fine. I mean, my legs were absolutely ruined, but my feet felt fantastic, and these shoes definitely contribute to that. I know with other shoes, when I do that sort of hard riding, I might get a bit of discomfort, and then there's a softness of the materials, which is noticeable when you go back to the old SW7. You can hear that noise, feel quite stiff and quite firm, but this new shoe is a lot softer. That tongue is really supple, nice soft edges. The whole upper just moves. It just feels like the Exos, that super lightweight shoe, but with more support. And that Exos was fantastic for that sort of floaty sensation around the front of the foot. When it comes to climbing, sprinting, out of saddle, when you're really mashing the pedals, there's no lack of stiffness from this carbon fibre sole. It's as stiff as you need. I've never lacked stiffness in a carbon fibre top end shoe for a long, long time. And if you like a really nice secure fit. You can do third dials up, and even if you do them up really tight, there's no pressure build up across the top of the foot thanks to the way they are angled across that upper there, and you've got the extra volume in the front of the foot. So for me, as a size 45 for reference, and I always get on pretty well with shoes, my feet are fairly normally shaped. I do like the extra volume compared to the old SW7, just makes it an area kind of more comfortable shoe to ride those long rides in, with no loss of control, fit, and that secure feeling you want from a shoe like this. And they look amazing too. As everybody knows, white shoes are fastest. Science proves it, probably. Other more practical colours will be available as well. I think it'll be black and as a green as well, which looks pretty cool. And they are a bit of a pain to keep clean, get a bit of discolouring around the front already, so I have to give them a bit of a scrub it later down the kitchen. So while I do that, while I go and give them a clean, let me take you for a trip down memory lane. And with Neon from Specialized UK, we talked about the how and why of body geometry, where it all started, and why it's worth remembering the importance of body geometry for the shoes we have here.
There are three things really that make up the body geometry element of a shoe. Now, two of them are in the insole, and one of them is in the actual sole of the shoe.
So we've got some innersoles here, haven't we, which demonstrates the features you're going to talk about.
Yeah. So these insoles that you're holding are the aftermarket insoles. Now, they are actually replicated with the shoes you buy off the shelf. Most of the shoes you buy off the shelf will have a version of this red one. That's sort of our lowest contoured insole.
Okay.
And a lot of shoes, particularly in the early days in cycling, you really just got a thin piece of material. You know, it's like an odor eater. You know, it's just like flat. And we noticed that the more support you could give the foot, the more you could stop the foot compressing as you push down on the pedals. You see what's happening there. You know, you can imagine all the body weight trying to get maximum power into the pedals. But as you do that, your foot collapses. Same as it does when we walk and run, but on the bike, what's the point of that? It's not projecting us forward. It's not a leaf spring that's of any use. So these insoles have got built-up arches, and all of us will have different heights of our arch. And what we're trying to do here is match the insole to the height of the arch of the foot.
Okay, yeah.
So you're going to be different to me, I'm going to be different to another person. Generally, when you buy the shoes, they're obviously all the same. Now, there is a level of support, as I said, already in the shoe. This just allows you to customize it a bit more.
Okay, you can see a difference in the arch support there, can't you, from like fairly mild to quite extreme.
Yeah.
So all the shoes come with a standard insole, but you can buy a higher or lower support
exactly.
one.
So if I was to take a shoe out of, take any of these shoes and take the insole out, you would basically be getting a version. It wouldn't be red, but it would be this shape. And the other area that's interesting is there is a small, and you probably can't see it on the camera, but there is a small bump here, which feels like, I mean, you've ridden our shoes for a long time. It feels like there's almost a stone underneath the footbed when you put your foot in. Yeah. But the idea here is, if people get numb feet, a lot of the time it's because they've really, really clamped the upper, so that their foot gets compressed and compressed and compressed. And within all these areas here, we've got nerves, and obviously there's veins and there's blood flowing around there. So the more we pinch it, the more we're restricting that movement, which can lead for a lot of people to some numbness. This little bump that you've got underneath the sole just lifts from the bottom up, so that if you're tightening down, you're not going to tighten so much that your nerves are being pinched and you get that numbness. So yeah, so in the sole you've got the arch, and then you've got the metatarsal button, which is that little lump.
Okay. So the inner sole is one part of the battle to try and improve comfort, reduce risk of injury.
Yeah.
But you also mentioned the shoe as well. So the shoe has a design to kind of match the inner sole.
Yeah, and it's all of these. I mean, we've got shoes going way, way, way back here. I mean, this is an old pair of yours, but it's easy to see whether you haven't got the cleat on. But this shoe is not, it's not flat. So it's not completely flat. It's actually, if I was to be extreme, it's like that.
Okay.
Okay, it's not like that. But it's angled. So there's more material on the inside and less on the outside. And the idea being that just that little orientation of mainly of the forefoot, it's not the whole foot, just the forefoot, that little orientation, again, mimics our feet, because our feet aren't like that. They're like that. So having that shoe mirror our foot structure means that we're actually supporting our foot as it wants to be, rather than positioning it into a very flat plane. And again, because we're not talking about walking, we're not talking about running, we're not talking about the things that we naturally were designed to do, riding a bike isn't particularly natural, is it? So the fact that we can stop our foot collapsing means that we're also not affecting the kinetic chain, because at the end of this is a knee, and above the knee is a hip. So, you can imagine this rocking around left and right, inside and outside, that's making your knee move around.
Okay.
So that kinetic chain is where the injury comes from. So if we can stop this and support it as it wants to be naturally, then the knee itself isn't going to rock around as much, and that kinetic chain is therefore more stable, less repetitive strain injury essentially, and that's the third element of the body geometry mix.
Correct.
2 in here and 1 in the sole of the shoes, and that's in all of the shoes. That's whether you're buying an entry level Torch 1 shoe, a Recon shoe for mountain biking, even our Turfo sort of more trail riding shoes have got all of these 3 elements of body geometry into them. So it's something we have been doing for nigh on 20 years.
20 years, wow.
Yeah. I mean, these are a set of my shoes from the early 2000s, and body geometry.
So there we go then, the brand new S-Works Torch shoe, available now. I'll put a link to their website down below if you want to check them out. It's fair to say the shoe after the saddle is the most important contact point with the bike, and Specialized have been on a 2-decade-long mission to try and find the best comfort and performance blend. And it's clear they've been getting close with the last few generations, but I think these might be the closest they've ever got to the perfect race shoe. And I know you might think I'm biased, but honestly I'm not, based on my own personal experience of riding and testing all the shoes available on the market. And I always come back to Specialized shoes because that body geometry works for me. And while there are other companies making very, very good shoes these days, there are a few that have the scientific understanding and the background and the evolution from the previous shoes to really push forward with possibly one of the best shoes I've ever tested. That combination of comfort and that interaction between the bike and the foot and the shoe in perfect harmony to allow you to extract your best possible performance while preventing injury and at risk of injury is why these shoes are so good, and why when testing other shoes I always come back to Specialized, and why these look as tatty as they do, because they've had lots and lots of miles and smell a bit bad as well. So these are new S-Works Torch shoes. My impressions of riding them, fair to say I'm very impressed, and all changes over the previous shoes, and a reminder of how important body geometry is and why it underpins every single shoe that Specialized makes now and going forward. Anyway, if you want to find out more about these shoes, there's a link to their website down below. Let me know your thoughts on these shoes and if they are on your shopping list this year for a new pair of shoes for the summer. Anyway, that is all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all again very soon.